Wish that I was on a rocket top. Just kidding. Hi, my name is Jennifer Ather, and I am coming to you from my kitchen in Ripon, Wisconsin. Last year, in 2014, I kicked breast cancer's ass. 4 months before I was diagnosed with cancer, I met Krista Hawkins, and my life has never been, nor will never be the same. Krista and I were assigned to co-coach a class for State Farm Insurance, and we became fast friends. Very soon after we met, Krista introduced me to her real passion, whole foods-based nutrition and holistic living, and basically she had me at hello. I thought I was already pretty healthy. Apparently I was wrong. I was the girl who ate well most of the time and constantly was looking for ways to improve my health. And by improve my health, I mean lose weight. I had tried every fad diet out there to get skinny. In high school, I used Dexatrim. In college, I was on Slim Fast. And after college, I tried the cabbage soup diet, Atkins, Weight Watchers, Nutrisystem, the skinny girl diet, and the eat more, weigh less approach. In my adult life, I have been on Ally. I took Carcinia Gambogia, I'm not even sure how to say it, but I put it in my body. Irwin Green Tea Fat Burner, Zenitol, and countless other over-the-counter quick fixes. The latest, which I was on when I met Krista, was prescription strength phentermine. Real healthy. So when I heard about Krista's lifestyle and saw her passion and her skinny body, and heard all of the great benefits about whole food nutrition, I was completely sold. I changed my eating habits almost immediately. One simple change is what Krista talks about. The first thing I chose to do, because it was the easiest, was I started taking a whole foods-based tablet called Juice Plus, and I took it every day. I still do. It's a combination of fruits, vegetables, and dark berries, and it has the phytonutrients every body needs to promote healthy cell growth. It is also a powerful antioxidant. While this was my one simple change, I got super lucky because I got a twofer. When I started taking Juice Plus, I also naturally increased my water intake. And now I'm pretty religious about drinking half my weight in water in ounces a day. What I found between adding phytonutrients to my diet and increasing my water intake was that there were a whole lot of icky cells in my body that needed to come out. Basically, my body needed to detox. Krista told me to give my body 4 months to accept the new nutrition I was feeding it and explained that this process was very much like cleaning out a closet. It would get worse before it gets better. As you hear my cancer story, it's important to remember that 4-month time frame. It takes 4 months for you to rid yourself of unhealthy cells. 4 months to be consistently producing healthy cells with whole food nutrition. 4 months for me to prepare for battle. I had met Krista just 4 months before my diagnosis. Breast cancer was not new to me or to my family. Both of my mom's sisters and 2 of her first cousins fought the same battle I did and lost. Every member of my family has been affected by this horrible and ugly cancer. All of my cousins lost their mothers. All of the women in my family live in fear as to when cancer will strike us again, because we all know it's coming. Thankfully, with medical advances, my cancer was diagnosed very early and the battle was mine for the taking. As a side note, in the last 2 months, my mother has been told that she has precancerous cells in her breasts that will eventually turn, and my little cousin Stephanie has been diagnosed with the same cancer I had. This cancer loves the women in my family. I vividly remember the day that I was diagnosed. It was a beautiful spring day. I would imagine most people with cancer have that brief moment in time ingrained in their brain forever. I had gone for my annual mammogram, something the women in my family do religiously, and as usual I was asked to come back for a second look because there were some areas of interest. I had had many biopsies in the past, and this was just not something that I was at all worried about. As I was lying on the table and the radiologist was doing an ultrasound of my left breast, she said, and I quote, "Well, look at that, you have a little cancer." She said it like she had found a gummy bear in my couch. I was not really sure what I heard was correct. Did she seriously In this moment, with my shirt off and gooey crap on my breast as she's probing me, tell me I was going to die? Because in my family, in my experience, it was a true death sentence. Women in my lineage do not survive this, ever. I looked at her with what I am certain was a look of disgust, curiosity, hate, disdain, and confusion, and I said, "I'm sorry, did you just tell me I have breast cancer?" Now, I know you mammographers in Tennessee would never do this, but I swear it happened. "Yeah, it's right here," she said. "See?" And she turned the computer monitor to face me and she showed me the spot. I left the clinic in a complete daze. I went out to my car, I got in, turned it on, and I broke into a hysterical tantrum. For a brief second, I wished I was sitting in a locked garage. I was gonna die anyway. Without a doubt, in that moment, I was going to die. I cried in my car for what seemed like an eternity. I cried, and then I got pissed. I got so mad. I was yelling at no one and at everyone at the same time. In the past 7 years, I had been through 2 back surgeries and a hysterectomy. And now this? Are you freaking kidding me? I'm a very strong woman by nature, yet even I was not sure I had the strength for this battle. And I certainly did not understand why me? Why now? My aunt had just died a year prior to my diagnosis. She battled this beast for the majority of my life. Her fight spanned a 30-year period. My family had only been cancer-free for a year. Really, God? Really? After the anger wore off, which took a few weeks and a few Valium, I'm not gonna lie, I made a choice. I had a partner who was with me the whole way. I chose to ride this path out with God, at the wheel, no more anger, just faith. God had a plan. I knew this for certain. I knew this because he had brought Krista into my life 4 months earlier. I was armed, ready, and committed to beat this. I knew with God driving and my new friend Krista in the back seat guiding me with health principles, I could do this. It was at this time I made my second small health change and I gave up milk. Dairy is a big fan of breast cancer, and I was a big fan of dairy. I quit cold turkey. For those of you who know anyone from Wisconsin, you can imagine how difficult that was. I was like a half a gallon a day kind of gal. I began to realize, however, that God had given me this awesome responsibility of and the opportunity to change the course of history for the women in my family. To do this, certain small changes were going to be completely necessary and completely doable. I mean, cashew milk over cow's milk, come on, that's kind of a no-brainer. This was God's plan for me. To make these changes, to show just how strong I was, and to tell cancer to leave my family alone, that we were done. I relied on my faith to continually work through my emotions and to stay strong. If not for me, then for those around me. This was what God wanted, of that I was sure. I opted to treat at the University of Wisconsin-Madison. I had gone to my local doctor, whom I adore, and I told him I would like a double mastectomy, hold the fries, ASAP. He thought that was a little bit extreme. The cancer was very small and I was only in stage 1A. However, I knew I had no choice. It may have been stage 1A now, as it was at one time for every other member of my family who fought this battle. I knew from history it would come back angrier, bigger, and uglier, and that eventually it would kill me if I didn't kill it first. So my husband, who by the way is the most remarkable and supportive guy on the planet, he's definitely my soulmate, drove me to Madison. This is another moment I will never forget that is ingrained in my head and in my heart forever. The pain of this particular moment still resonates very close with me. As we pulled into the hospital, I was terrified. I had been silently sobbing for about 3 miles before we reached this point. When we arrived, we went to the valet parking area and got out of the car. I was actually not sure I could do this. I felt as if I was going to throw up, and my legs were rubber. My amazing husband was at my side, holding me up. He is my pillar in this world. We walked in the main doors down the corridor, arm in arm, me barely able to breathe, and we took an elevator downstairs. Getting off the elevator, I exited right, and I saw the words Cancer Center. In that moment, I literally fell to my knees, sobbing out loud this time, and I lost all sense of strength, self-control, and dignity. I, Jennifer Ather, had cancer. It couldn't be true. My husband let me rid myself of this awful emotional fit and helped me to my feet. I'm sure he was equally as scared and felt equally as weak, watching his wife, the mother of his children, sob in fear for her life. He patiently waited until he thought I was in control again, and he silently and firmly grabbed my arm. I held on, numb and ready to face whatever was coming. Arm in arm, we walked into the breast center to check in. The moment we opened the door to the waiting room, an incredible thing was happening. Blessings are everywhere. I swear my life on this. The Muzak was playing, and I happen to love cheesy 70s love songs. The particular song that was playing in that moment was Morning Has Broken by Cat Stevens. This song has a strong emotional connection to my family, and I think especially to me. It is the song they played at my Aunt Linda's funeral back in the 70s. This was not the first time this song played on the soundtrack of my life at exactly the right time. I knew hearing that song in that moment, Linda and my other Aunt Gail were cheering me on and telling me everything would be all right. They were giving me the sign to kick this ugly cancer in the face, and they were letting me know they would be there beside me for the whole journey, and it turns out they were. So I had opted for Madison because they had records on my family, and they knew about our history. The women in my family had been tested for the gene, and none of us, including myself, have it. One of the first things I learned on this visit was that less than 0.5% of women who get breast cancer are under the age of 45. Less than 0.5%. Every single one of the women in my family were lumped into this staggering statistic. Each of us diagnosed very early in life. The first meeting was to discuss my cancer, consider my options, and come up with a plan. My doctor started out by saying, we can take the lump out and give you a little radiation, and I said, cut them off. Or we can give you chemotherapy, watch the tumor shrink, and then take it out. I said, cut them off. We could also just remove your left breast and give you some radiation to make sure it doesn't come back in the right breast. I said, cut them off. Before the mastectomy, I met with a plastic surgeon, Dr. Afifi, and he explained a couple of options to me. I could opt for a rebuild of my breasts, whatever size I wanted, using silicone implants. This was what the majority of women chose in my situation. However, I had issues with this. I really had no interest in being the grandma with perky boobs. I had visions of my children's husbands saying, gee, your mom's got a nice rack, when I was like 80, and I just didn't want that. Option 2 went like this. My doctor begins to tell me that he could rebuild my breasts, again, the size of my choosing, with my stomach fat. In my head, all I heard was tummy tuck, even though those words never came out of his mouth. I decided I was so in and down for this procedure. This was not going to be so bad after all. And my doctor said if I didn't have enough fat on my stomach, they would take it from my thighs. Yep, this was definitely starting to sound a little awesome to me. And it was a big turning point in my journey. Talk about making the best lemonade ever. I had cancer. It was going to be taken out of me. I would be getting a flat stomach, possible fat grafting of my thighs, tighter boobs, and a summer off of work. In all reality, I was feeling a little guilty. I didn't have to have chemo or radiation. Worst case scenario, I would have to go through a few surgeries to get the reconstruction right. And with each surgery would come more fat grafting from other areas of my body. So seriously, how lucky can a gal get? I was already fortifying my body with phytonutrients and had chosen to give up most dairy. By this time, I was eating tons of whole foods, drinking a vegetable-based protein supplement shake every day, and I knew my body was ready for battle. So on my 44th birthday, I had a 13-hour surgery, a double mastectomy, a massive stomach surgery, and a breast rebuild. I came to about 10:30 that night. My surgery had begun at 7 a.m. I woke to find an ugly, stapled, bloody ridge across the entire length of my abdomen and massive bandages around my breasts. It looked as if they had tried to saw me in half. It was a bit overwhelming, and I now understood why I was supposed to spend a week in the hospital. But that didn't end up happening. The first day in the hospital, I was in pain, obviously. However, I was in great spirits. The nurses were amazed that I didn't sleep all the time. Most people in my situation don't really wake up for the first 3 days, except perhaps to take an occasional bite of food. On day 2, I asked to have my catheter removed and my IV removed, and I asked if I could take a shower. They were stunned, literally, at the fact I wanted to get out of bed. I was ready to take this recovery thing to the next level, and I knew sitting in a hospital on pain medication was not what I needed. So I took a sponge shower, I guess you could say, on my own. I got off the pain medication, and I started to walk around. My doctor came to see me that evening, and he couldn't believe his eyes. He was floored that I was up and walking around. So after seeing my progress and talking it over with me, my doctor said I could leave the next morning, as long as I promised not to overdo it. I'm fortunate to be self-employed and to have the most amazing team of employees, which allowed me to be able to take the entire summer off to recover physically, but more so emotionally. Having your breast cut off can really mess with a girl's head. This summer was a serious blessing in my journey. Not only did I get to take the summer to recover, but I was able to consider exactly how this was going to affect me and what I was going to do with this story. It also allowed me to spend the entire summer with my teenage daughters. It was a wonderful time of family bonding and self-reflection that I will never forget. Plus, it was farmer market season, so we got to eat super healthy, fresh foods all summer long. I went back to work in August, and I had my first revision surgery planned for October. This was not to be a big deal. A 5-hour surgery where they would take fat from my thighs and fill in some areas up top that needed filling in. I should be out of work no more than 3 weeks tops. Well, in my world, nothing really goes as planned, and after my October surgery, I developed a very serious triple bacterial infection in both breasts. My doctor was shocked. It's very, very, very unlikely for someone's body to reject its own tissue, and that was happening, of course it was, to me. It took several months for that to clear up, and the infection left me a bit disfigured. The crazy part was I never felt ill. I never lost energy. I was never tired. I had no symptoms of that infection except for what I could visibly see. This type of an infection would have most people in the hospital, and I can only attribute my strength and health through it to Juice Plus and Whole Foods Nutrition. My doctor could never understand how I remained completely healthy while going through this. It was crazy. So I had a redo surgery in May. And in just 2 days from recording this, I'm going to have my nipples built. After that, I just have the tattoos to look forward to. I've always wanted a tattoo, so be careful what you wish for. It gives me pause to think of all I have gone through in the last 18 months. I am so blessed to have a wonderful community of friends who kept me going strong throughout this completely amazing time in my life. I could not have remained so positive without all the prayers, the love, the cards, the gifts, etc. One thing about cancer that is super cool is you get a lot of gifts. There are no accidents in life. God brought Krista Hawkins into my life to empower me with the tools and the knowledge to fuel my body and win this battle. Had I not met her, had I not taken my health in my own hands, it is likely I would have had a lumpectomy with radiation. I would have continued drinking milk, fueling cancer cells in my body. I would have continued eating with no regard for sugar and the cancer-promoting components it offers your body. I would not be getting the water I need to promote healthy cell growth. I would have continued on my journey thinking I was healthy. Chances are the cancer at some point would have come back, and quite likely it would have killed me. Instead, since my first surgery in May of 2014, I've lost 40 pounds. My journey is real. My cancer is gone, and my health is good. As for my faith, this journey strengthened my faith to the point where I know God is real. I am done questioning. He blessed me with cancer, and because of it, I got to spend the summer with my children. I got to fall in love with my husband and the amazing man he is all over again. I got to truly become healthy and to know what that means. I got confirmation of what a wonderful and supportive community I live in. I got to bring closure to my mom, who had lost her sisters and her cousins to this ugly disease. This blessing put everything about life into perspective, and it made me even stronger. My 44th birthday was truly the best birthday I've ever had. In closing, I would just like to leave you with the absolute truth of the power of choice. You always have a choice, always. Whole food nutrition, giving up dairy, and drinking more water, those were the choices I made. Easy choices that most likely saved my life. What you do for a living matters. Be an example to the women you help each and every day. Choose wisely, grasshoppers, and God's blessings. Thank you.